Trey Niven here, top 50 golf coach in the UK. If you struggle to hit fairways under pressure when you're not feeling too good, I'm gonna give you one trick today to guarantee you hit way more. So we're on the golf course, we're on the tee box. What can we possibly do to make sure that ball flies up the fairway reasonably straight just to get us off the tee box? We've all been there where we're not feeling too good, not feeling too confident, but we need a backup. How can we hit that fairway? You're probably not gonna believe this, but all I want you to do is take that golf ball and tee it up much lower. So you can see normal driver height here. You can see from your camera angle there, you can still see the top of the golf ball. I want you to tee that down where you can't see the golf ball. So I can see now, from your angle, you probably can't see the ball. For me, it's almost looking that the ball is in the middle of the club face. So let's just hit one now. Let's see what happens to that golf ball if I just tee it down and hit it completely normal. Perfect, so launch much lower, not much curvature at all on that ball flight. Let's have a little dive into why this is so important and why it's such a valuable tip, a little trick of how this can make you hit more fairways when you're not feeling too good about your game. So let's put a ball in the ground just at a normal height here and talk about the differences between a high and a low tee. So the high tee is designed for me to launch that ball up into the air. The only issue with that, when we hit more up on the golf ball, generally we're gonna increase our dispersion pattern because that ball, we can impact it across it, we can impact it on the up. The difference between that and a low tee is when that ball is teed right down, this forces me to swing the golf club in one way and one way only to even make that ball fly. So the first thing that's going to happen is that it's really going to force us to straighten the spine at impact. We can't get any tilt really back and away from the target because that's going to make the club bottom out before the ball, and we're probably not going to get solid contact. We could catch the ground way before the golf ball. To even hit this golf ball off this tee peg, we can't have any rear tilt to the spine. That's the chest getting behind the center of the pelvis. If we have more of that, like we would on a high tee peg, then that club is potentially going to bottom out too soon and we're going to start catching that ball too low out the club face and it's not going to be any good at all. So we need to make sure with this ball off a low tee, you'll start to figure this out the more balls you hit off this tee, is that we actually do need a little bit more shift to the left. So where the center of the chest and the center of the pelvis actually pretty much feels like it's in line with each other down to the golf ball. You can actually see naturally my first instinct is to move left in this direction. And you can see as I do this, it actually makes my club and the swing direction move a little bit more to the left. And what happens when we swing more to the left is that we almost hit a little bit of a fade because we're separating now the swing direction from the club face and where the club face is aligned to. So what this really leads us on to is with this low tee, you're probably only going to hit one shot shape, which is going to be a little fade. So if we're under pressure and we're not swinging too well, high tee, again, if you remember what we said at the start, high tee, we could hit a draw, we could hit a fade, we could hit a slice, we could hit a hook, we could do a number of different ball flights. And we want, as golfers, we crave consistency. We want to see the same thing over and over again, especially when things aren't going too well. So the low tee is going to force me to hit a little fade. So with that in mind, if I knew I was going to hit a fade every time, I would just line things up maybe left of the hole. So here we got a big tree on the right, we've got a bunker on the left, which you can see a nice little yellow and red pole up on the left. This is going to mean I'm just going to have to aim things and shift my baseline around to the left because I know off that low tee a little fade is going to happen. Make sure that when you are teeing it low, to even hit that ball, we've got to swing down a little bit more and we've got to swing more left to even make that ball fly how we want it to. So that leads me on to saying, if you've got it on a low tee, aim everything a little bit left of where you want the ball to finish because we know that little fade, little peely fade is going to happen. The second thing to consider is that ball's going to launch much lower, so that probably means it's not going to carry quite as far. But if we want a fairway finder and we're not worried about distance or anything, we just want to guarantee that fairway. Remember, we're under pressure, we're not feeling too good. I want consistency. I know off that low tee that ball's going to launch in a much lower window, carry shorter, so we're probably not going to use this shot if we've got water to carry or we've got a long distance of rough to carry. If we've got a fairway like this where it doesn't matter where the ball goes, we just need to hit the fairway, it's absolutely perfect. So we know the ball's going to launch lower, might roll out a little bit more because it's launching lower, there's still the power behind it, so it might actually end up going the same distance. We know it's going to launch lower, it's going to curve from left to right. We're starting to build that vision and the consistency in what we're going to expect that ball to do. So it's absolutely perfect if we want that consistency and guaranteeing what that ball is going to do, how it's going to fly. Important things to consider with this is if you're an older golfer or maybe your club head speed isn't there, then we've got to be careful how low we actually tee it. So if you're a really high club head speed player, you can actually manage a ball that's teed much lower because you've got the speed to actually create some form of backspin, so the ball's going to get airborne. If we haven't got much club head speed, you've got to be really careful how low you tee that ball. But the other thing that it's really going to help is if we're a golfer that tilts way back and away from the ball and we hit the ground and we hit the floor, this is actually really good for your technique of actually getting things lined up. Because like we said at the start, if you even want to make good contact with this golf ball, you've got to have things lined up on top of the golf ball to even hit this one. The last tip I'm going to give you is grip down the club a little bit more. If we can shorten that golf club, it's like a lot of players on tour might play a shorter driver shaft length, normal driver shaft length at 45 inches. A lot of people might play a 43-inch driver shaft, and this is just to give us more control over that club head, face to path relationship. Where is the club head in space? If we can shorten it, then it's going to give us a lot more control over this club so we can guarantee hitting that fairway. So let's give this one another go now. So firstly, I've got to establish my target line. My target line here is not going to be right of fairway, it's going to be on the left half of the fairway, because we know that it's going to guarantee that fade. It's going to cut a little bit from left to right. I'm going to pick my launch window, so I know it's going to launch lower, so I'm not worried about carrying anything. Again, we just want to hit that fairway. Last thing I'm going to do is grip down this club. Now, I don't want you to actively think about chopping across the ball and swinging left. To even hit that ball, we're going to start to do that anyway. So this is almost a bit of a skill exercise. Tee the ball down and hit a few balls and self-discover for yourself, what have I actually got to do to make solid contact, to make that ball fly exactly how I want to. So left half of the fairway. Nothing's really changing with setup. We can narrow the stance a little bit if that helps. We're gripping down the club. Normal ball position, I'm not moving it back, okay? And now we're just gonna pull the trigger. I know if I change nothing, that ball's gonna cut left to right. Perfect. Right in the middle of the fairway, that one. And it's way up there as well. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this little tip. I use this all the time when I'm on the golf course, when I'm in competitions, and when I'm coaching golfers as well. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you stay tuned for next week's Whack It Wednesday. Also, leave a comment down below what you want to see in Whack It Wednesday next. I'll try and tick off as many as I possibly can. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.